So today is the publication date of my book, Losing Linda May, a Cancer Caregiving Memoir. And if you watch the intro video to this channel, you'll know that the first date in the book is July 5th, 2015. So today marks the 10-year anniversary of that day and the events that took place in the book. And I started it at this moment for a bunch of different reasons. One is that it kind of introduces you to everyone in the family for the most part. Almost all of my immediate family is present. My sister and her family had come up from Frisco, Texas, where they lived, to be with us in Wichita, Kansas, as kind of a send-off before my mom went to her autologous stem cell transplant in Omaha, Nebraska. And I thought it was also a good way to show the difference between the waitress in the book, Tara, who has a good relationship with my mom and dad. They were going to Village Inn pretty much every Sunday for a couple years at that point and had developed this relationship. And Tara and my mom actually went through chemotherapy around similar times. And unlike my mom, Tara attained remission and didn't have any setbacks. She didn't relapse at all. Whereas my mom relapsed, the cancer had metastasized to her brain and spinal cord. And then at this point, she had already gone through additional treatment. That's when I had come home to be a primary caregiver for her. And you see kind of this juxtaposition happening where my mom is very negative and skeptical and really resistant to the optimism that Tara is providing her. And I think it captures what it feels like to have relapsed. And I think that's a really defining factor of going through cancer treatment, is whether or not that initial cancer treatment was successful and you attain remission that's permanent, or that first round of treatment actually fails, you relapse, and then you have to do more aggressive treatment, but you don't know if that more aggressive treatment is even going to be beneficial, if you're ever going to attain that remission and ever going to attain that permanent remission for that matter. So the unique thing about a stem cell transplant is that you need to be in remission before you have one. So with my mom, she attained remission again, but then insurance took about a month to actually approve her stem cell transplant. That's a long time to be waiting, especially when you've already relapsed and you're just sitting there, you're worried. You're like, am I going to do all this and just find out that I'm not even eligible anymore? So I'll have an entire video on stem cell transplants, but the big thing to know is that they basically take you to the brink of death with really, really high dose chemotherapy. And the only reason why you end up surviving is because then you get this infusion of stem cells. It's an incredibly aggressive form of cancer treatment, but you failed several cancer treatments, or you failed a cancer treatment before, and you're thinking to yourself, like, am I just going to keep torturing myself? Like, is this all worth it? Is it going to go smoothly? In the case of my mom and me, we both had setbacks and complications that we had to navigate, and you just don't know what's to come. And it's natural when you're thinking of the scale of treatment that the more aggressive it is, the more likely things are going to go wrong. So it's a fair assumption that this isn't going to be easy. This is going to be tough. But you're contending with so many people who are so optimistic around you, who are telling you, oh, you're going to be fine. This is going to go so smoothly. You're going to get to the other side. This is the final hurdle. It's really hard to believe those things. And that's even more the case when you've failed cancer treatments. So it's one thing if you are going through your initial rounds of cancer treatment and you're getting all this optimism. You're like, yes, I believe that. Like, this is going to work and I'm going to go into remission and this is it. This is just a blip in my life. It's going to be a couple of months and I'm going to get through it and I'm going to survive. It's very different when you've relapsed because you just cannot trust that you will attain that remission, and especially not that permanent remission. It always just feels like the next thing that you're going to do is going to be the thing that gets you there momentarily, but then you're just going to suffer and fail again. And then you're going to be back to square one. And then it's going to be another treatment. Or if you run out of treatments, then that's going to be it. And, my mom's prognosis was really bad after she found out that her cancer had metastasized to her brain and spinal cord. When she initially started out, her oncologist told her that she had an 80% cure rate. By the time that she had relapsed, that had dropped to a single digit. So when you're dealing with all those emotions, And you have all these people around you who are trying to be optimistic and trying to lift you up and tell you how the cancer's already in remission and this is the final step and all these different things just to be cheerleaders. It's really hard to receive because they most likely have not gone through treatment. In the case of Tara, she had gone through treatment, but she hadn't relapsed. She didn't really know what that feeling is like to have gone through all that pain and suffering just to find out that the cancer was still there or the cancer came back. So you're always having to contend with other people's projections onto you, and you are rightfully terrified and concerned and hopeful that maybe this will be the thing that allows you to attain a permanent remission. So at this moment, I'm also contributing to that enthusiasm and that optimism. And I'm disappointed in some ways about my mom not being able to receive that type of output from other people. I didn't understand at the time because I hadn't lived it, what it does feel like to have to deal with that on a daily basis. So that's the reality. Like when you are going through cancer treatment, people can sometimes just smother you in optimism and enthusiasm and thoughts and prayers and all these different things that are just so positive that it's really hard to take in because it's so disconnected from how you feel as someone who has cancer, as someone who has relapsed through a lot of treatment. I do think that there is merit to being cheerleaders for cancer patients. I do think it really depends on the cancer patient, because I told my support system at a certain point blank, like, I don't need that. It wasn't helpful to me in any way because it wasn't changing my own view on what I was facing. It was really just, I think, making people feel good that they're sharing that with me, that they're showing that they're optimistic, which is great. And I'm grateful, and I was grateful that they were optimistic. But at the end of the day, it was just becoming words. And I think in this moment that we're seeing in the book is that everything's just becoming words to my mom. And she's struggling to really internalize anything because she's heard it so many times before. She's heard that everything's going to go smoothly, and it hasn't. And there's only so much misplaced optimism that you can really take in before it just sounds like noise. And then in the second moment in the book, we finish breakfast, we go outside. Now we all have to pose in a group picture. We all have to smile. We all have to pretend like we are happy and dandy and we're not shipping off our loved one to a state 5 hours away from where they live to have a really aggressive form of treatment and have no idea who's going to come back when they're done. And you have to kind of suspend your reality and just focus in the moment on like, oh, let's project to the world. Let's project to social media and Caring Bridge, the platform we use to keep our support system up to date, that we're all good. We're all here. We're all together. We're all happy. We're sending off our loved one. We're so confident and optimistic that this is it. And after the stem cell transplant's done, that's it. They're going to live. They're going to go back to normal. Everything will be back to normal. This is the turning point. Here we all are together. And it's such a fallacy. It happens all the time. I found myself, even through my own treatment, which happened during the pandemic, so I didn't have any opportunity to have group shots, but like I would always end up posting to my support group, pictures of me smiling in the hospital and whatnot, because it almost feels like you can't send the hard stuff, and no one wants to see you not smiling. No one wants to see you suffering, really. Like, it doesn't make them feel better, and it probably doesn't make you feel better. So you just end up in this false sense of like optimism and happiness, and which is just so disconnected. So if you're interested in that picture, I'll be posting one of them to Instagram using the same handle. And I'll also be posting to TikTok a video where I talk a little bit about some of the surroundings of that Village Inn restaurant, where I had some past experiences in high school that are really strange juxtaposition to what I was experiencing in that moment as a caregiver for my mom. And it just kind of represents how weird it can be with past and present and the merging of those two sometimes, and just having to grapple with like who you were then and who you are now. And obviously this is a channel about hindsight, so that's pretty appropriate. So if you're interested, check that out as well. The next day in the book is July 6th, which is tomorrow. So I'll be posting another video on here where I talk about receiving the news from my mom when the cancer had metastasized to her brain and spinal cord earlier in the year in March, and what motivated me to relocate from New York City to Kansas to be a primary caregiver for her. So if you're interested, hit subscribe. You can also leave any questions in the comments, and I will be back tomorrow. So stay tuned.